Quoted from the book The Journey of Jan van Mandeville 1462. This tower, along with the city, had a wall around it that stretched for about 25 miles, as the people of that land claim. Despite being called the Tower of Babylon, it contained many well-organized dwellings inside, spacious and extensive. The tower encompassed a vast area around it, spanning about 10 miles square. King Nimrod, ruler of that land and considered the first king of the world, commissioned the construction of this tower. He had a statue made in honor of his father and compelled all his subjects to worship it. This practice was adopted by others after him, marking the beginning of idolatry in the world. This great Babylon does not fall under the rule of the Sultan, but is under the authority of the Emperor of Persia, although it pays homage to the Great Khan, the sovereign of Cathay. The Great Khan holds the highest imperial rank, and is the supreme ruler of all overseas territories. He governs the islands of Cathay and numerous others, including parts of India, with his realm extending to the borders of Pope John's domain. His dominion is so vast that its boundaries are unknown, surpassing the power and size of the Sultan. Cathay is a vast, beautiful, affluent land abundant with trade goods. Merchants journey there annually seeking spices, herbs, and various other commodities, more than they do to any other destination. It's worth noting that those traveling to Cathay come from Genoa, Venice, Lombardy, or Rome, enduring a journey of up to 11 or 12 months or longer, traversing both land and sea before reaching the land of Cathay, the most significant and extensive territory on that side of the sea, belonging to the Great Khan. The palace of the Great Khan stands in a city called Caden. From Cathay, you travel eastward for many days until you reach, among many other cities, one called Sagramago. This city is well fortified and boasts a wealth of silk, spices, and trade goods surpassing any other city in the world. Continuing eastward, you arrive at another city, ancient and situated within the province of Cathay. Near this city, the people of Tartary have erected another city named Caden, boasting 12 gates with a great mile between each, so that the two cities, old and new, together enclose 20 miles or more. In this city lies the seat or court of the Great Khan, housed within a magnificent palace surrounded by a 2-mile wall. Within this palace compound, there are many other palaces. Within the orchard of the main palace stands a mountain, atop which sits another palace, the most beautiful, opulent, and fair that one could ever visit. Surrounding this palace and the mountain are numerous fruit-bearing trees, with large deep moats filled with water encircling them. Adjacent to these moats are great roaring fires on either side, with a beautiful bridge spanning the moat to the palace. Within these fires dwell countless wild geese, ducks, and numerous other birds. Surrounding and within these fires and moats lies the vast orchard teeming with wild animals. When the Great Khan desires wild animals or birds, he orders them hunted from his windows without ever leaving his chamber. This palace, where his throne and court reside, is grand and exquisite, adorned with 24 pillars of pure gold. All the inner walls are covered with red leather from animals called pathios, known for their delightful scent, ensuring that no foul odors penetrate the palace. This leather, as red as blood and as radiant in the sun, is almost too brilliant for the eye to behold. Many worship these animals upon seeing them due to their great virtue and pleasing fragrance, valuing their hides even more than golden plates. In the center of this palace stands a throne upon which the Great Khan typically sits astride his horse, crafted entirely from gold, precious stones, and large pearls. For golden serpents adorn the corners of this throne, beneath which lie the conduits for the beverages consumed in the imperial court. You should know that when the world was destroyed by the flood, along with Noah, his wife, and their children, Noah had 3 sons, Ham, Shem, and Japheth. Ham was the one who saw his father naked while he lay drunkenly asleep and pointed him out and mocked him, hence he was cursed. Japheth turned and covered his father. These 3 brothers divided the land among themselves, with Ham, being the most cruel and violent, taking the largest and best portion of lands, including the eastern part known as Asia. Shem took Africa and Japheth took Europe, hence the world was divided into 3 parts. Of these 3 brothers, Ham was the greatest and most powerful, from whom more descendants came than from the others. From his son Nimrod, the giant, was born, who became the first king of the entire world and began the construction of the Tower of Babylon. Often, with him and with the women of his lineage, the enemies of hell would come and bear children of extraordinary nature, some without heads, others with large ears, one eye, horse hooves, or other malformed limbs. Thus, from the lineage of Ham emerged the extraordinary people who inhabit the islands across the sea, as mentioned earlier, spanning all of Asia. Because he was so mighty and none could oppose him, he proclaimed himself the Son of God and the supreme ruler of the entire world. Due to Ham, all emperors have called themselves the Great Khan, the natural Son of God, and the supreme ruler of the entire world, as they write in their letters. From the lineage of Shem came the Saracens, and from the lineage of Japheth came the people of Israel, as we and others who dwell in Europe, such as those from Syria and Samaria, claim, as they told me before I departed for India. However, upon my arrival in India, I discovered things to be different. Nevertheless, it is true that those of Tartary and those who reside in Greater Asia are descended from Ham, but the emperor of Cathay is not called Ham but Khan. Let me tell you why. It has been more than 8 times 20 years ago that all of Tartary was subjugated and in servitude to the other lands surrounding it. For they were all barbaric, tending only to their cattle and leading them to pasture. Among them were 5 principal families, the highest among them all, the first of which was called Tartar. From this family, the entire land received the name Tartary because they were the noblest and most esteemed. The second family was called Kangath, the third Urak, the fourth Valir, the fifth Seniath, the sixth Mungi, and the seventh Tabak. Then it happened that a great man, from the first family and old though not wealthy, whose name was Kangias, lay in his bed asleep, and had a vision appear before him, a white knight entirely clad in white armor. The knight said to him, "Are you asleep, Ham? While you sleep, the supreme God has sent me, and his will is for you to lead the 7 families. You must be their leader, for you will conquer the lands around you, and all those at your borders will be under you, as you were once under them, for that is the will of the immortal God." The next morning, when Kangias arose, he recounted these words to the 7 families, but they mocked him, saying he had gone mad, causing him to walk away from them in shame. The following night, the white knight appeared again to the 7 families, commanding them on behalf of the immortal God to make their emperor from Ham, and that they would no longer be subservient to any lands. Instead, they would hold themselves under him as they had been under others before. Thus the next day Kangias was chosen as emperor, adorned with a black fur and lifted up with great celebration, seated upon a throne and bestowed with all honor, being called Khan, as the white knight had named him. Regarding the land of Pigmen, where dwell small people only 3 spans tall and otherwise. From there one continues and returns to the land of the great Khan. This river flows through the land of Pingwarden, inhabited by small people who are only 3 spans tall, yet beautiful and graceful, both men and women, according to their diminutive stature. They marry when 6 months old and live only 6 or 7 years. If they live to 8 years, they are considered very old. These small people are the finest craftsmen and most skilled in silk, cotton, and all other things produced there that can be found in the world. They often war against the birds of that land, who catch and eat them. These small people neither plow nor cultivate the land nor plant vineyards, but among them dwell large people like us, who work the land as it should be worked. These small people mock the large, as we would do, if they were among us. Beneath all others, there lies a great city where many of these small people reside. This city is exceedingly beautiful and grand. The large people who dwell beneath, when they have children, are as small as the Pingwarden. And that is why they are so small, because the nature of that land is so. The great Khan ensures this city is well guarded, for it is his.